Actually, I'm not sure what you're talking about. There is no destination. You've been in the land of musicality this whole time. The exploring and the fun and the stops along the way are the whole reason the kids are on this journey. And suddenly it all makes sense. If we get to the Beethoven sonata, but the kids are terrified to improvise, or they play a Bach invention but are tense and not aware of their body movements, we're doing them a disservice. Hey there, I'm Rachel Ehring, and you're listening to the Top Music Piano Podcast. Get inspired as we discuss creative resources, trends in piano pedagogy, ways to grow your income and streamline your studio, and new ways to engage your students each week. If you are a teacher who wants to go beyond the method books to create an innovative studio that fosters lifelong music makers, you've come to the right place. Hi there, piano teachers. I am so glad that you're joining me today for this short solo episode. Now, if you listened to the podcast last week, you heard my guest, Jenna Broxma, and me talk about how to include duets and collaborative skills in early lessons. She had some fantastic ideas, and I've actually been thinking about some of them throughout this week, and they intertwine so perfectly with everything that we talk about here at Top Music. So I decided that I wanted to piggyback on that episode today. And make sure you stay until the end because I have a new resource to offer you that is going to help with some of these ideas as well. There are actually, I would say, two themes that come up in today's episode. One is diving a little deeper into piano duets and collaborative skills, but I can hear some of you thinking, I don't have time to add anything else into my lessons. We can barely get to everything as it is, and I definitely get that sentiment. I teach primarily 30-minute lessons, and most of the time, that 30 minutes goes by very quickly. So I want to start by addressing this, and I'm going to do it by giving you a little story. I want you to imagine with me that all of us piano teachers are actually bus drivers. We each have our own bus, and we're going to load all of our students onto our bus and drive them to the land of musicality. And we tell them when we get there, there will be Mozart sonatas and Bach inventions, all sorts of wonderful, exciting things. And as the kids get on the buses, they're all pretty excited about going to the land of musicality. Now, some of you, as soon as your kids are loaded up, you take off so fast before the doors are even closed. You are going to get those kids to the land of musicality as fast as possible. We hear the tires squealing. We hear you shouting about every good boy does fine before you even are out of the parking lot. And some of us slower movers think, wow, we can't compete with that. She's definitely going to get to the land of musicality long before we do. As that bus disappears around the corner, we hear a few kids shout that they want to get off, but their bus driver is not about to stop, so on they go. By this time, the rest of us have our kids loaded up, and we start on our journey. Now, I should tell you, there isn't just one road to the land of musicality. In fact, there have never been two piano teachers, or bus drivers in this case, that took the exact same route. And there isn't really a map either. Some people try to say there's an exact map, but all the ones I've seen give more general directions like head east for a while. So I'm driving a bus too, and as I pull out of the parking lot, I start to notice there's a lot of really amazing things to see and experience along our chosen route. My first thought is, we don't have time to stop. We have to get to the land of musicality as quickly as possible. We're already way behind that other bus. But to be honest, the kids are getting kind of squirrely, so I decide to pull over and let them get out and explore a little. They get to move their bodies, use their eyes and ears and sense of touch to explore the amazing wonders that are along the road outside the bus. After a few minutes, I load them back into the bus and we continue our journey. But it's not long before I see something else beautiful that I want to stop and show them. The whole time, I'm thinking about our destination and how we might be the last bus to get there. But the kids are having a great time, and every time they get back on the bus from one of our little side excursions, they're even more excited about the land of musicality. None of the kids even thought about getting off to go back to the parking lot where we started. As we travel along, I start to think maybe we're getting close to the land of musicality. So I pull over to let the kids explore some more. and I see a familiar looking face. It looks suspiciously like Tim Topham. I ask him, hey, are we getting close to the land of musicality? I know we're really late and that first bus has probably been there for hours, but we had a lot of fun along the way, and I'm just hoping maybe we're almost there. And this man, who looks suspiciously like Tim Topham, says in an Australian accent, actually, I'm not sure what you're talking about. There is no destination. You've been in the land of musicality this whole time. The exploring and the fun and the stops along the way are the whole reason the kids are on this journey. And suddenly it all makes sense. If we get to the Beethoven sonata, but the kids are terrified to improvise, or they play a Bach invention but are tense and not aware of their body movements, we're doing them a disservice. The exploration, the creative activities, the full body movement, those are how we are going to grow young musicians. You might be wondering what in the world this has to do with what Jenna and I talked about last week about including collaborative skills in lessons, and I'm so glad you asked. I really do believe that these things are all intertwined. In fact, I was hesitant to even talk about the collaborative skills as a separate thing in this episode because they're really not. If you were listening closely last week, Jenna mentioned having your students conduct while you play or while they listen to music as a way to teach the skill of following along. This is also a way to teach rhythm and time signature. Jenna mentioned call and response and echo games. These are great for teaching oral skills, and I haven't done research on brain development, but I'm sure they're good for cognitive development, teaching focus and attention to detail as well. She talked about having students sing while they play, or having them sing while you play, or vice versa. Most of you are familiar with audiation and how important it is for students to sing in addition to playing. Jenna and I, of course, talked about using the teacher duet parts that are in most of the method books, which helps students keep a steady beat and keep going if they mess up. Now, I do have a challenge for you as teachers when you play those duet parts. How carefully are you listening to your students when you are playing the duet? If you think about it, the teacher part usually has a much thicker texture than the one-line melody of the student part. So this is an opportunity for you to model good accompanying and listening skills by making sure that you can hear the student part over your thicker part. You can even start talking about texture and point out that the melody is the most important part. And so you are going to be playing softly and listening to make sure you can always hear their melody. Another place that is perfect for teaching these skills is group classes. And if you are teaching group classes, you are probably already doing a lot of this. Having kids clap a beat or play a rhythm instrument while another child is playing the piano. Sometimes I've had two kids at the same piano playing the same song in different octaves. This helps them to keep going, keep that steady pulse, and also listen to what their neighbor's doing. One logistical thing that I'll say, and I need to get better at this too, is to always start the song the same way. So decide if you're going to count off or if the child is going to count off, and then encourage them to breathe before they start. And then the two of you start together. So you breathe together and start together. This is another skill that is going to take a little time and repetition for them to get, but it's one of those important stops in the land of musicality that we shouldn't skip over. Learning to breathe as a pianist might seem inconsequential, but it is actually one of the things that differentiates between an amateur and a professional pianist. Imagine your favorite hotshot pianist, whoever that might be, starting the slow movement of a piece. I bet you just pictured them taking a long, slow breath before they gently press the keys. Are you starting to see how all of these skills are intertwined, and teaching collaborative skills, I'm doing air quotes right now, is really just teaching good musicianship? The skills that make a pianist a great collaborative pianist are being able to listen well, balance, keep a steady tempo while still having musical flexibility, good sight reading, breathing, good technique. I'm pretty sure those are all skills that you want your students to have, even if they're only going to be playing solo repertoire. But let's be honest, do you actually want your students to only play solo repertoire? Think about that for a minute. The chance that any of us are teaching a student right now who is going to have a full-time solo piano career is pretty small. Out of all of you listening right now, there might be a handful of our students who major in piano in college. Maybe a few who will get graduate degrees in piano. Maybe even a couple that will become college piano professors giving solo recitals and such. But for the rest of the pianists that we are training, if we teach them these collaborative skills, it opens a whole additional world of musical opportunities. Now they can accompany their high school choir. They can play for a friend who is singing in a talent show. They can play with their sibling who plays another instrument. Maybe they will end up in a jazz ensemble in college. They might play for a musical theater show or accompany instrumentalists for a competition. The opportunities become endless for pianists who have the ability to work with other musicians. So what does this mean practically? What do we do with this information? For us here in the States, it's almost summertime, which means a lot of us are soon going to be thinking about the next school year. If you aren't in the States, a lot of us here do things a little differently in the summer months, whether that means our students have fewer lessons or we do summer camps or something else. And then in August or September, we ramp up again and get back into our routine. So for me, that means that during the summer, I'm scheduling my recitals for next year, planning what special things we're going to do, what group classes we're going to offer. So I'm already thinking about how can I add more collaborative opportunities into next year for our students, next school year I'm talking about. I'm still in the brainstorming stages of this, but I'm hoping to encourage my teaching staff to do more ensemble playing, and maybe we can put together some kind of duet recital. And along with that, I'm personally hoping to do a duet recital myself with my duet partner. It is also still in the very early stages of being planned, so I'll have to let you know if and when it happens. But I'm thinking that next year might be the year of collaborative music making for us in the conservatory. I would love to hear your ideas about how you are including some of these ideas in your studios, whether it's just in your one-on-one lessons or in bigger groups. I know that you all are so creative and are doing amazing things all around the world in your studios, so please tell me your great ideas so I can steal them. Speaking of the conservatory where I work, I want to share about one of our students who has been with us since we first reopened after COVID. So when I was hired in 2022, the conservatory had been closed for about 2 years, and I was tasked with getting it back up and running. And the very first family that I met with as we were preparing to open was this girl who I'll call her Bella and her parents. And they were so excited for Bella to start piano lessons. So she started piano lessons as soon as we opened. And then they asked if she could do a duo piano lesson with a friend. So she's been doing that for a couple of years now. And then she decided to add on violin lessons. And this girl is very social and loves making music with her friends. So for the recital recently, she played her solo piano piece and solo violin piece. But then she also played her duo piano piece with her duet partner. But that wasn't enough for Bella. She also wanted to play a duo violin piece. And one of her friends takes violin lessons right before her. So the teacher was able to overlap their lessons and teach them a violin duet to play together for the recital. First of all, I've seen so much growth in Bella over the past few years, but she's definitely not doing this because she wants to develop collaborative skills. And I don't think her parents have really thought in those terms either. She's doing it because it's fun and she loves the social aspect of playing with her friends. Sometimes she loves the social aspect a little too much, but that's okay too. I truly believe that Bella is going to be a lifelong musician, and she is going to look back at her early music lessons and think about how much joy they brought her. Which brings me right back to where we started. The journey is the whole point. There's no final destination for music lessons. Yes, there are competitions and levels and certificates of merit, but the real joy is creating lifelong music lovers who can gather their friends around the piano for a sing-along or sit down and sight-read duets with a friend for fun. So, if I've convinced you of the importance of creating collaborative musicians, I have a free, brand new resource to offer you called A Piano Teacher's Guide to Collaboration. Now, this one is completely updated. I had a previous version that a few of you might have gotten at some point, but when I went back and looked at it, it was fairly sparse and I had so many new ideas that I wanted to include. So this one I think is about twice as long, and it's beautifully laid out with practical ideas and encouragement of how to do this from the very first lesson. The link is in the show notes, or if you can't find it, because I know show notes can be hard to find sometimes, just send me a DM on Instagram at Rachel Arian and I'll send you the link. And I'm also working on another really fun tool for helping you find duet repertoire for your students. It's not quite finished when I'm recording this, but if you download the free guide, I'll make sure you are the first to hear about the duet repertoire tool as soon as it is ready for human consumption. All right, friends, that is all for this week. Next week on the show, we're going to talk about virtual assistants. So if you have ever wished that you could have a little bit of help with all those administrative tasks that pile up while you're doing the teaching work that you love, be sure to tune in next week because it's a really good episode. And even if you think you're not ready to hire someone, I think you'll get a lot out of it. So that's the end of the show for this week. If you enjoyed this show, it would mean so much to me if you would share it with a piano teacher friend who maybe has never listened to the podcast or might have missed this episode. Maybe they haven't listened in a while. Share this with them. It's short and hopefully full of some good tips. So that's all for today. I'm Rachel Arian, and I'll talk with you again very soon.
How do you keep up to date with all the latest trends and research into music education? How do you connect with other teachers around the world and make sure your teaching stays fresh and relevant for students of all ages and stages, both now and into the future? I created our Top Music Pro membership to be the one-stop shop for music teaching resources, training, support and community, and I'd love for you to come and join us inside. With over 40 comprehensive training courses, hundreds of teaching demonstrations and lesson plans, free monthly sheet music, discounts, and all the business and pedagogy support you could ever need, Top Music Pro is the community you've been looking for. If you're ready to level up your learning from the podcast and join thousands of other teachers in our global network, head over to topmusicpro.com today.